CouchPotatoGM.com is the website. Couch Potato General Manager, the YouTube channel. You know it because you are on it. We're here to talk about your team, the Carolina Panthers 2019 NFL Draft Recap. What's the hashtag? Keep pounding?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Bucks fan. I shouldn't know that. Mm-hmm. Hashtag keep pounding.
That's why you know. There's pounding on y'all boys.
Oh.
Remember the days?
Okay.
Jonathan Stewart, D'Angelo Williams.
Oh,
no, I don't remember.
Remember those days?
You repressed that, huh?
Yeah, it
repressed.
Never happened. Never happened.
Mm-hmm. Steve Smith.
Okay, gotta respect. Gotta respect them. Yeah, man. Let's get back. Let's fast forward to 2019 this year with your first pick. Y'all know who that is. 16th pick overall. They selected Brian Burns out of
FSU.
Florida State. When I think about Brian Burns, you know what I think about? I think about a guy. I think about Stretch Armstrong. I think about a guy who's got length. I think about a guy who has burst off the edge. I think about a guy who might have been the only guy playing on the FSU defense. And then he went to the combine and he showed you a whole new set of skills. Can he play receiver?
Oh,
can he play corner?
Man, this man backpedal.
I mean, it was nasty.
Yeah.
Athletic beast.
Yeah. Brian Burns, man, like you said, the only guy in Florida State that showed up week in and week out. I always talk about it's not his first step, man. It's his second and third step, how he gets around the edge. This guy's bendy, twitchy. He's probably the bendiest, most twitchiest player in this whole draft class.
Is that even the thing? Bendiest twitches?
I just said it, man.
Okay,
I just made it up. We're going with it, man.
Okay.
And he knows how to hunt the quarterback. Like you said, at the pro days, got him dropping back in coverage. They're going to play more 3-4 scheme. So it's the perfect guy you want standing up on the edge, rushing the quarterback, dropping back in coverage, doing everything for this football team.
Yeah, you want, as that transition takes place, the roles that K1 Short, newly acquired Gerald McCoy were playing, it's changing. It's changing. Their job, their chief responsibility isn't necessarily getting up the field and penetrating into the backfield to make a play. It's now more along the lines of occupying. Of course, you still need them to make plays, don't get me wrong, but it's now about occupying space, displacing offensive linemen, blowing up the blocking scheme, so on and so forth. So the likes of a Brian Burns can go and make plays. We have Burns as the 6th ranked player overall in our CPGM top 50. And, when you talk about how twitchy he is and the fact that he's an athletic dream, analytically, he's a dream. So the analytic heads out there, they love what he brings to the table. When you add that to obviously the copious film of him, really, really working. Really working. You know what I mean? And under circumstances where a guy that talented who knows, he's going on to bigger and better things could just kind of put it in neutral. You know what I'm saying? Take it a notch down or two. He kept on playing. And that's what I like most about him. Like, he has all the skills, all the tools, an array of pass rushing moves. Like you said, the hip bend, the flexibility, be able to turn the corner. We do want to see him turn that speed to power a little bit more consistently. But he has the skill set. He has the ability, even if he's not necessarily playing every down, which I expect him to do. This guy can get you double-digit sacks his rookie season. He's that good. He's that good of a pass rusher.
For my team's sake, I hope he doesn't, but I'm selfish. In the second round with the 37th pick, your Panthers selected Greg Little, offensive tackle out of Ole Miss. And the first few things I got in my notes: quick feet, quick hands, delivers the punch immediately. If he gets out of his set and he beats you, it's pretty much a wrap in terms of pass. In terms of run, I felt like it was extremes. It was either he wasn't aggressive enough or he was too aggressive with it and slipping blocks. But this is a big man, and he's a good coach away from being, I think, one of the best tackles in football. Period.
I agree with you. He's a good coach away from being a really good player.
Okay.
I don't know about best.
I'm calling you guys. I'm throwing my flag.
And that's fine.
Mark
check
the
tape.
Yeah.
Check the tape.
Yeah.
All right. I tend to agree with you, though. I think coaching at the collegiate level did him a disservice. He's too talented. He's too talented to have that up and down, inconsistency.
He's
just top. Entirely too inconsistent based on his talent. So the question is work habits, and then ultimately coaching matters. So and frankly, we haven't always seen great offensive line play in Carolina during the Cam Newton, Ron Rivera tenure. But certainly, if he can get in there, they get him some quality coaching. He improves as a run blocker in terms of his consistency, because that's what Carolina wants to do. They want to control the line of scrimmage. I agree with you in the sense that he could be a really good football player for this team, a very good starter, high-end starter.
Well, I guess you guys are a lot higher on Greg Little than I am. I just seen too much inconsistency on tape. Footwork, technique, hand placement. I didn't see nastiness from him. It wasn't good to me. You know, I see that he's a big body guy. If he gets out there, you're probably not getting around him. So he does have the talent to do it. He was a 5-star recruit, so he was one of the best players coming into college. But yeah, man, I just feel like coaching really matters with this guy. And you guys think he could be this starter? I see it on the other end of the spectrum. He could be a potential bust.
So you think it's the polls? We have the polls that we're dealing with here, not any real middle ground here. I take your point that we don't know, what's in him. You know what I'm saying? In terms of the work habits and all of that. We're not certain of that. We don't necessarily have that access to him. But I'd like to see him with good coaching before I definitively or lean towards, this got bust, because everybody got bust potential. Most players, I should say, have bust potential.
Yeah.
There's some sure things out there, believe it or not. Most players have a certain level of bust potential. So I understand where you're coming from. Before I lean that's more likely than him being a quality football player, I think it's going to come down to the coaching. I think a good offensive line coach that really tasks him and puts him through the paces in terms of improving his technique could really unlock the talent and potential that he has.
I always say, talent, technique over talent.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
He wasn't a first round pick.
Yeah.
They didn't invest, that top 15, 16 pick in him that's some, prior to, the whole the draft season and the measurements and so on and so forth were kind of billing him as. So I think day 2, second round, I think the upside is worth the gamble.
He does have the upside. You spoke about tackles that just had the athleticism without the technique. We've seen Colton Miller last year, Garrett Bowles the year before that. So these guys,
a little too early.
Those guys are first round picks.
Yes.
Having Greg Little second with the potential, I can see the pick with a position of need for the Panthers.
Right,
Definite position of need. You got to protect Cam. In the 3rd round, with the 100th pick, and was that the century pick? 100th pick, they selected Will Grier, quarterback out of West Virginia. It's a Gator right here. Former Gator. I'm sorry. Excuse me. We probably would have. Let me stop. He should have stayed on it. Okay. Thank you. What was it Will Muschamp?
Jim McElwain.
Jim McElwain. Man, I don't remember. They all look the same. I'm gonna read straight from the notes. Because I'm not a fan. Not a big fan. So a guy who I believe is best when he stays in the pocket and accurately goes through his options. But this was far and few between. He did most of his work in chaos. He looked most comfortable in chaos, which turned into hero ball. The longer the play lasted, it turned into hero ball.
The worse it got.
Yeah. I think Grier thinks he's more athlete than he is a quarterback.
Okay.
He has a strong arm.
Yeah, he played in that wide open, quick passing offense at West Virginia.
Quality weapons too.
Quality weapons, Sills, those guys over there, Garrett Jennings. But the thing with Grier, he makes some throws in the game, man, some wild throws, like ball placement, the touch on his pass. It's just like wow, like this guy's a player. But the more and more you watch more tape on Will Grier, you see that his decision making, like time after time, I'm like, what is this guy doing? Like this guy is running backwards. This guy's getting sacked, making bad decisions, throwing in traffic. The hero ball that you talked about it. That's not gonna work in the NFL. Definitely not gonna work in the NFL. He needs to get better, progressing through his routes, staying inside the pocket, and using his arm because his arm is where his strength is because of the throws that he can make.
I think. So we'll talk about Grier I'll talk about Grier from 2 perspectives. All right, the player himself, and then ultimately why I think the Panthers ultimately made this selection. There are question marks about Cam Newton's long-term health. He was just cleared here recently to throw. So, in terms of protecting Cam Newton, the cumulative effect of injuries over the time, you have a risk there. So they need someone with some ability. And I don't think there's any question that Will Grier has ability. Now, when you talk about the finer points of the game, the nuances associated with the position, that's where he is rough around the edges without question. in the past, this would be a quarterback that I say, he was a great college quarterback.
Yeah.
But the college game has permeated throughout the NFL. You understand? So we talked about coaching associated with Greg Little.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think the same thing applies to Will Grier. Depending on the system and the coach, and we've seen North Turner kind of transform here.
Yeah.
I had my questions going into last season in terms of what was this offense going to look like? Was this going to look like the 90s Cowboys? Where we're, running digs and post routes, you know what I'm saying, on a consistent basis. No, it was one of those wide open, of course they would get into, 20, 21 personnel and get downhill at times, but there was enough flexibility in North Turner's play calling to leverage the skill set of his players. Instead of forcing his system, his historic system, on Eric Coryell, on this team, he did things that they were comfortable with. So there's a chance here that the coaching tailors the system. And again, that doesn't mean that Will Grier doesn't have things to clean up.
Yeah.
But certainly, I think coaching can help mitigate some of that hero ball tendency that he kind of falls back on.
You're talking about Will Grier, and I just started to think about him when he was at Florida, and the quarterback. He wasn't that player, the player you spoke about in terms of the bad decisions. Every quarterback's going to make bad decisions. You're going to do dumb things sometimes, but he wasn't quite that. And then when you put him in a system that's West Virginia, I think it makes you want to play hero ball for some reason. I don't know. I'm not sure.
What conference is West Virginia in?
Big 12.
Big 12.
Yeah, and when you see it work, when you come down with an acrobatic cast, you tend to kind of do that more, But we seen another quarterback and a Patrick Mahomes. We coming out of college was kind of the same way. He got with an Andy Reid, the coach you're talking about, and he won MVP last year.
And that's really the point I'm getting at. That's really the point I'm getting at. Because of the way the game has changed, they're protecting the quarterbacks more. They're making it easier on the receivers to create separation. You can't touch them. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can extend drives by just simply throwing the ball up in the air because the flag is going to come out. And that happened in the NFC Championship game, unfortunately for the Saints. But generally speaking, the offense has the edge. The offense has an edge. The rules, everything is slanted to that. The NFL knows what it's doing. To get the casual fan to buy in, you need points. To support the huge fantasy football industry that has grown like wildfire, you need points. So there are more guys that look and play like Will Grier that are going to have longer careers in the NFL now than they would have 10 years ago. You understand what I'm saying? And if you have the supporting cast, and if you have an innovative enough play caller a la Andy Reid, you can really leverage some of the physical tools Will Grier has, or for that matter, Patrick Mahomes. So I think, I understand your concerns. I truly understand your concerns associated with him, but I think a coach has the ability, the right coach, it may or may not be North Turner. He's demonstrated that he's willing to kind of do some things a little bit unorthodox or not necessarily what we anticipated from him. I think you can kind of rein in some of that based on play design and how you approach things offensively.
In the fourth round, the 115th pick, your Panthers selected outside linebacker Christian Miller out of Alabama. They're changing that defense, so they need a guy who they can move around a little bit. And that's kind of what Bama did with Christian Miller. Watching the tape, this is a guy who strong at the point of attack, is a downhill player, a guy who, played defensive end, did some stunts and twists up front, was really good at it, a good blitzer. Just a guy you can move around. I understand the pick, and I like the pick from that standpoint. Initially, when they made the pick, I was like, what are we doing? I don't know if this matches. But now that I know it's a 3-4, I understand the pick. It makes sense.
Yeah. You need personnel. You need personnel to be able to because it's going to be a bit of an adjustment for some of these players. It's going to be a bit of an adjustment. You got to have the personnel to help make that transition as painless as possible.
Yeah, man. He was, like you said, his game was kind of weird because he's physical at the point of contact, at the first punch, but the more and more you're on him, he's weak and he gets pushed back in the run game. He's not a consistent pass rusher, doesn't have that bend or twitchiness, but he has that dog. He'll fight. He'll try to make plays in the backfield, but I think he needs to get stronger and
You think it's a strength thing or is it a technique thing?
It could be a technique thing. He's like he gets that first punch in, and he's strong to jar you back. But if the offensive line get their hands on him, they can drive him all the way to the second.
I think that's a matter of footwork.
Yeah.
I think what happens potentially in this particular case is that it's just too much. You're trying to do too much with just your upper body.
Yeah.
Your lower body is not working in concert necessarily with your upper body to sustain that initial punch that you mentioned.
Yeah.
In the 5th round, 154th pick, they're going out and they get another Gator, because I'm going to call Will Grier a Gator.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to do
This
that.
guy.
Jordan Scarlett, running back out of Florida.
Go ahead, Headley.
Let me go in on
Go ahead, man.
You going in on him? In a good way or a bad way?
In a good way, man.
Oh,
You
okay.
hear what this man been saying about Jordan Scarlett?
What'd you say?
This guy running the football. I'm gonna give you two guys right here.
Okay.
As a runner, he reminds me of a Alvin Kamara, Marlon Mack type running back.
Woo. Sexy.
It just, when I watch Kamara at Tennessee, it's just no one could tackle him. He just bounced off tackles, and he shows that ability in the NFL also. Jordan Scarlett's the same way. He makes a guy miss tackle, get a strong upper body. He has a low center of gravity, runs effectively between the tackles. He's a pure runner. You know, as a pass catcher, had a lot of drops, concentration issue in the passing game. That's something you have to develop at the next level.
No, McCaffrey can take care of it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but he's going to be spelling McCaffrey.
Yeah, McCaffrey got it. McCaffrey's not coming off the field. Go ahead.
Not on passing down. McCaffrey.
Yeah. Oh yeah. McCaffrey got it on passing downs, but this guy could give McCaffrey a blow. You know, they already said that they don't want to give McCaffrey that big of a workload like they did last year.
Oh, they got him.
And Scarlett, man, this guy is super talented, man. Super talented.
He was initially supposed to go to Miami, correct?
Yeah, and then there was the whole Notre Dame thing at one point. I was hurt.
No, I was making sure. Okay, he was hurt.
Yeah,
Hashtag
I was
hurt.
Talented ball carrier, very, very much so.
Feet, man. It's all in the feet.
You saw it early too. He got into some trouble. But you saw it early, you know, when he given an opportunity, because they had a revolving door backs. They had Michael P. Ryan, and they had quite a few backs there. And to me, it was him. That was the guy. That was who you were supposed to ride, and they didn't necessarily ride him.
So I watch his tape, and I'm trying to figure out what does he do well. What is he? And to be honest, I don't know if there's anything he does elite, but he plays the position of running back how you're supposed to play the position of running back with everything that's involved with the position. Like outside of him dropping passes, they were putting him out in routes. He was running routes, so they believed in him. So to me, this is gonna be a steal.
If they're running him out there in passing routes, then it's a matter of concentration, I would imagine.
Yeah, I see a lack of concentration.
I think it's a lack of concentration. So that isn't. So we're not suggesting that he can't improve in that area. It's just an area that he needs to address. Yeah. But like Ellie said, I think you might not be giving him enough credit in terms of being a ball carrier. I think he has. Listen, it's not the wow. It's not the pizzazz. It's just that natural. When you see it, you know.
Listen, maybe my words aren't coming out.
That's it.
Like watching him, I'm in awe. Okay. I'm in awe, but I didn't find that one thing where I was like, whoa, wait a minute now.
It's his movements inside small areas in between the tackles. So subtle, and he keeps his feet moving.
That's underappreciated.
It's his feet, man.
That's underappreciated. The subtle movements and your footwork is a very underappreciated aspects of a running back.
We talk about it in terms of football.
People want people to see guys hurtling guys. That's
the flash and dash, the highlight. Listen,
when did it? I was always taught never leave your feet when you have the football. What are you doing?
Listen, it's
new wave, man.
ESPN. I want to be highlights.
Zeke, man, trying to eat.
When has he ever hurled anyone and then scored?
It's never happened. So we talk about here all the time. We talk about here all the time. Somebody gonna get lit up, and then that'll stop that. We talk about it all the time in terms of players who do things so easy that it's taken for granted.
Sure.
And I think maybe that's where I'm coming from with Scarlett. It's just
that's a good point.
It's so easy that maybe you almost miss it because it's so easy. But if you were down on the field examining it, you'd be like, "Oh, whoa,
it's not overly demonstrative. Nope. His movements, or it's just carry after carry. You just see and having watched so much football over the years, you notice those things. You notice the little differences and the footwork and the little, it doesn't, to your point, you can miss it. You can miss it because there's not a whole lot going on. And at times he made it look easy.
Yeah. And I'm not comparing him to Kamara because he's elite out of the backfield, catching the football, just running the football in between tackles. That's who he reminds me of.
All right, in the 6th round, the 212th pick, we have Dennis Daley, offensive tackle out of South Carolina. I'm going to read from the notes, so excuse me. I love the pick. I understand why he's a 6th round pick, though. A lot more wrong than right with Daley. Physical, has good size for the position when you talk about measurables. But everything that is wrong about him, to me, is fixable. Just not polished. A lunger, inconsistent with getting out of his stance at the snap, too high. I put in here, if it was me, I would overload to his side in terms of a blitzer or bringing a late blitzer.
Give him too much to think
he's
about.
He's not aware.
Yeah.
But I feel like this isn't a guy you throw out there and say he's starting day one. This is a guy who you ease in, who you trickle in and you give him a snap here, a snap there. Hopefully nobody gets hurt so he doesn't have to play right away because that's Cam's shoulder or whatever, taking a hit. But this is a guy who I feel like because of the measurables, I feel like the things that's wrong with him are fixable things because he's a guy who, he got a little grit. He'll go out, he'll go and get somebody. You know what I mean? So
yeah, this is your quintessential late round pick. You're looking for upside. You're looking for measurables. The traits as they call them.
Yep.
And as it pertains to offensive linemen, when they are a bit raw, the idea is he needs a couple, maybe 3 off seasons to really get up to speed.
Yep.
Yeah, I had Daley, the technique issues, seen it on tape. But I did say that he was enticing because of his ability to stay in front of pass rushers, move into the second level. Also,
you see the flashes.
You see the flashes with him. Also, he was a JUCO guy. Came into the SEC and was asked to go against Polites, Montez Sweats.
Come on, it's not
and he played,
He held his own.
He held his own.
Yeah.
The only guy that got the best of him was probably Josh Allen.
Oh no, he played against Clemson.
Yeah, played against Clemson also.
But that's good competition.
Yeah, Clelin Ferrell and those guys. So
as an evaluator, as a talent evaluator, the scouts at the NFL level, that's what they're watching. They're looking at the talent that he's facing. After making that leap from the JUCO level, and to your point, he may have been schooled a few times, whatever the case may be, but he also held his own. So it's worth investing that late round pick in a guy like that who's shown some upside, who's demonstrated some upside, and cultivate that.
In the 7th round, the 237th pick, their last pick of the draft, they selected Terry Godwin, wide receiver out of Georgia. And when you talk about Georgia wide receivers, they got all these weapons and different things. And I felt like watching him, he didn't get enough due because of all the talent on the field. But I also feel like this dude can catch any pass and he can drop any pass. So I understand why he's a 7th round pick in terms of his inconsistent and his chances. So when you put his chances weren't that big, and then you talk about his inconsistency, that's gonna slip you right into 7th round pick.
yeah, he was supposed to be the guy at Georgia, and then they started recruiting more guys and kind of got pushed down the depth chart a bit. We saw him at that Shrine game though, and he dominated in the slot. He was eating in the slot.
He did drop a pass though.
Yeah, he caught 2 touchdowns too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And he was unguardable. It was like every play, it was like, even when he didn't get the ball, it was like, this guy, he's just wide open.
Yeah, and that is the reason why he'll make a team. I don't know if it's going to be the Panthers ultimately, but he'll end up on the NFL roster because he beats the defender on a consistent basis. It's whether or not he actually comes down with the catch, a whole different thing. But he was the star of the Shrine game. To your point, that he was terrific in that game, aside from the 1 drop pass.
All right, Panthers fans. Hashtag keep pounding. How you feel about your draft? I want to know, is Cam Newton, is he going to be ready for the season? Let me know down in the comments section. PotatoGM.com. Like, subscribe, comment, and share, man. What's up?
Pain is in the building.